Hello, X-Men fans. It's Jerry Rasco with you, and that is right. Today we are talking about the X-Men. Specifically, we're going to be looking at X-Men number 10. This is a very interesting issue. It does feature brand new, I'll say characters, definitely character. Not only new to X-Men, but new to the Marvel Universe, and a character that has a relatively long-lasting tenure with the Marvel Universe, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, there's quite a few firsts in here from a story perspective. Of course, we have the great art team of Jack Kirby and Chic to look at, so it's going to be a fun issue to go through with you. As always, I want to thank everybody for subscribing to the channel. We are making great strides towards our goal of 1,000 subscribers, and that is, of course, all thanks to you. So if you are here, you're a subscriber, and you're enjoying these series, please let folks know, spread the word around, share it on social media, help get the word out beyond just the algorithm, and see if we can't get to that 1,000 subscriber mark just a little bit faster. Why do we want to do that? Because if you are a subscriber when we hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, you are automatically put into a drawing where you could win free artwork. So subscribing costs you nothing. This artwork that you could win is absolutely free. There's not even shipping. I'll take care of that. I just want to get this into the hands of fans that have helped support the channel. So there are artwork for every review series that we have on the channel. Plus, you'll see two more that, as of this recording, I have not debuted those streams yet, but it will be coming soon. So you could win the Avengers, you could win the Amazing Spider-Man, you could win the X-Men, the original team lineup, which we're going to be looking at today. You could win Captain America piece. This is one of the upcoming streams that we're going to be having and launching soon. Same with the Fantastic Four. You're going to see that team. And, of course, the Incredible Hulk. So just by clicking that subscribe button, you are registered to win one of those and help the channel out. So please think about it. Click that subscribe. And with that all said, let's get into X-Men number 10. Okay, so this is the cover to X-Men number 10, featuring, obviously, our team, plus this brand new character, Ka-Zar, Lord of the Jungle, and his saber-toothed tiger, Zabu. So those are the new characters. So not only, like I said, is this an X-Men issue, but this is actually the very first appearance of Ka-Zar. So if you go back in my Spider-Man series, again, time-wise, I forget exactly the issue number, but Ka-Zar does make an appearance. Ka-Zar and Zabu make an appearance for a couple issues in Spider-Man, but this is the first appearance. And of course, that also means this is the first appearance of the area where Ka-Zar lives, which is the Savage Land, which does become a big part of both the Marvel mythos as well as the X-Men. So a lot of firsts here with that. Talk about the cover really quick. It's fun. It's a good cover. You've got this guy leaping towards the X-Men as they're all trying to figure out what to do. With this space, I always complain about this. I would like to see the bigger figures, especially Angel, Marvel Girl, Iceman in the background. I'd like to see them be a little bit bigger. The Angel, the predominant feature of the Angel are those wings, and I want to see those big angel wings spread out, drawn. It's a fun technique. It adds a lot of detail. It's something whenever I draw a character with wings, people are always like, oh wow, look at all the feathers, all the detail in the wings, stuff like that. You can really do a lot with them. And there kind of is some space here to work with. So with the characters that small, it kind of puts them real far in the background, let's put it that way. Really focuses on Cyclops and the Beast. I'd like to see it more of a team effort, so I would make those figures a little bigger. I like how Zabu here is in his own little bubble. Like he gets his own little credit, like he's a guest star on a sitcom, in the opening credits. The only question I had, we have this bright green of this bit here of the title bit talking about introducing Ka-Zar, who he is, but the jungle is gray. So why not? The X-Men with their blue and yellow costumes are going to still pop out against the green color. So why go with that neutral gray? It does work really well to make these characters very, very bright on the page, but again, I think the green would be fine. So I'm a little curious as to, in my head, why so much gray. My guess again, make the yellow and blue figures pop out, makes sense, but it would still work with the green. So let's see. Let's get into the book. As I always tell you here, this is a scanned PDF copy of the original comic, and this is from 1965. We have our creative team of Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Chic Stone on inks. As I mentioned, being that this is from 1965, it's got all the original ads. It's got, excuse me, we get to see the original color technique. It has not been computer recolored. And because Marvel scanned them into PDF copies, it allows us to zoom in when we want to see details. We can go back and forth really easily. It's just, I don't have to set up a separate overhead camera and stuff like that. It's right on the screen we can share. So I love this format. If you can get your hands on these old DVDs that include all these comics, I do highly recommend it. I found a couple on eBay. So let's get to the splash. My note goes, no, this is not this kind of splash page I like. I want a splash page where it gets right into the story, as opposed to the sort of second cover or montage type piece that we see sometimes. So Ka-Zar is going to be introduced. Zabu is going to be introduced. We just saw them here on the cover. I don't need to see them here again. And then I have a lot of questions about Marvel Girl. I always would just refer to her as Jean Grey. I'll call her Marvel Girl and Cyclops when they're in costume. Are they supposed to be part of this scene? Because if they are, they have shrunk and are tiny. I understand that Ka-Zar is supposed to be sort of a Tarzan, big, powerful guy, and the tiger, Zabu, great. Make him big. Tigers are really big. That's fine. But Beast is to scale. Iceman, Angel are fine. If Jean and Scott, if Marvel Girl and Cyclops are really supposed to be there on these rocks, sort of at the front of the scene, and not just some weird artistic choice, they are a fraction of the size they should be. So I'm a little confused by it. There was a part of me that said, no, they're not really there, but the rest of the team is there. And the way that Cyclops is bending down and touching the rock, I think it's supposed to be there, but it doesn't make any sense. They should be, if nothing else, being in the front, they should be much larger and kind of cutting off some stuff. Maybe Cyclops would be large enough to cut off Iceman's feet. Same with Marvel Girl. She would be much, much bigger. So that's a very weird thing. Oh, the last thing here, they note that it's not Ka-Zar. They say it's pronounced Ka-Zar. But to be honest, I've never heard anybody say anything but Ka-Zar. So for me, it's going to be Ka-Zar. Get to the start of the story. So we're starting fresh. There's no carryover from the previous issue or ongoing storyline along those lines. So this is a fresh issue for someone to absolutely jump into. And of course, we start with the team training in the danger room because it's a great story contrivance that allows you to kick off a story with something going on, some sort of action, instead of just people standing around waiting for events to happen. It gives you that little bit of intro space, and it does show off powers. So here we show Marvel Girl. She is able to telekinetically disassemble and reassemble a rifle using her mind. Interesting choice that they would use a rifle of all things. You could have used any kind of machine. Here's my guess. Jack Kirby was in the military. He served in World War II, if I'm not mistaken. My guess is that he may have had a diagram or a drawing, something of this nature, that showed a rifle and its disassembly and all the parts kind of spread out. That drawing feels like that. And so either he had that and could reference it and just redraw it, or he knew enough, maybe, he had done this enough that he knew all the parts and could could draw it that way. So that's my guesswork on why you would have her disassemble, of all things, a rifle compared to, I mean, it could be anything, right? A radio, I'm trying to think of a toaster. I mean, it could have been literally anything. One of the things I did want to talk about throughout the issue is Chic Stone's inking. So I've mentioned this before. Jack Kirby has a very angular sense of line work. I think that's kind of clear. When you look at like his faces, shadows, designs, things are very angular, very straight. And I think one of the reasons for that, again, this is just my 2 cents, is working quickly. When you work fast, drawing a line that's curving to get the right curve and angled and stuff is a lot slower than just sort of, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, like not hacking, but slashing lines. Quick lines to make shapes is much faster than trying to do these soft, curved, angular lines. And Chic Stone is bringing a more soft, organic ink line to things. And so the mix is nice. But one of the big things that I noted here is that Chic Stone uses a lot of bold lines around the contours of figures. Contours are the outside outline, right, of a figure. So a good example here, you've got a nice bold outline around, this is now Scott because he's not in his costume, Marvel Girl, as they're going in to find where Angel is. He's watching news report on TV. Again, bold outlines, thick outlines separating the elements, the figure from the TV, from the chair, from the etc. See it very nicely in the big image here with the news report of Ka-Zar and Zabu attacking an Arctic, Antarctic base. Now, the one problem I have here, so this is really good, and they've done this to, again, separate the figures, make it very clear. You got this big tiger figure, a guy wrestling with another figure. They're in slightly different shades of blue, which is supposed to work as black and white. I think that's a great touch to have the news report in black and white. 1965 makes sense. Black and white TV still. This gun that's in the foreground should also have a really heavy, thick outline to separate it from Zabu, and they don't. And so it kind of gets lost there. And so that's one of the things. If you're going to use your line weight to separate foreground, middle ground, background, with it being heavy, medium to light lines in the background, then you have to continue that through the whole thing. So right here, this foot in the foreground has to have heavier lines than Zabu, Ka-Zar, etc. in the midground, and these guys in the background have thinner lines. So that all works. So that's how one way you can use line weight, not just to show shadow on where the darker areas are. You of course can use that, but you can also use it to separate your foreground, midground, background. That said, there are some, we'll talk about these a lot in my videos, there are some tangents specifically in this panel here that I want to point out. So this line, so by the way, this is throughout, I noticed this a lot. There are a lot of really great drawings of Zabu, the saber-toothed tiger, when there obviously are no saber-toothed tigers to reference, but there's enough real tiger-esque stuff to it that it feels very believable. And again, think about, this is a time before internet searches, Google image searches. You can't just find tiger pictures in a million poses you want. Probably find the basics, and then you've got to kind of interpret when you want to have them doing stuff. And Jack Kirby does a great job with that here. But tangents are when two contour lines of two different objects at two different depths of space relations are close enough that they line up that it visually disrupts the three-dimensional rules in our head, and it's hard to tell what's in front and what's not. So which hand is in front versus which hand is in front if those contour lines of the edges line up just perfectly without overlapping. overlapping is a huge element that tells our brains what's in front, what's behind. So here's what we've got here. It's supposed to be overlapping, but the line of Zabu's paw, the top part right there, lines up with the waist of Ka-Zar, and the whole thing begins to blend together, as well as his paw kind of ends, and you've got this, it's very small, but the curve of the claw follows the curve of the leg, and the whole thing starts to blend together as one big shape. You have the fur along the belly ending right at the top of the hood, and again, doesn't create a separation of the two because there's no overlapping there. You either have to, when the lines are that close, you either overlap it or you don't overlap it, and you have a space in between. Same with this one right here, the way that this paw comes around and kind of follows that shape of that hood. And some of it is our brain filling in the gaps, and filling in the shapes and creating stuff. So when you zoom in, you can really, you can really dig in and look at it and go, what are you talking about? The line comes down, it overlaps. There's, it doesn't fill in the whole shape of the hood there of the guy's, parka. When you zoom out and you put it to this size, it really does. Then you also have the last bit right there as well, is that paw. See how you've got the guy's laying on the ground, and this paw and this wrinkle in the pants line up perfectly. And again, it's all just defeating the illusion that we're trying to create of the three-dimensionality. There are some areas that are really good. This paw crossing over in front of Ka-Zar's leg is awesome. This guy's legs behind Ka-Zar's, he's wrestling with the gun. Again, excellent. That is all really great stuff to create depth and who's in front, who's behind. But as I mentioned, there are other tangents there, and that's something you want to try to avoid in your own creations. So the team immediately goes to Professor Xavier and goes, well, this guy has to be a mutant. He's in Antarctica. He's wearing like a furry loincloth. He's commanding a tiger. He's got to be a mutant, right? So these guys, I think it's very funny. They, being X-Men, they're immediately like, somebody has superpowers, they are a mutant. So what about Spider-Man? Spider-Man's not a mutant. He's mutated, but he wasn't born a mutant, so he's not a genetic mutant the way the X-Men are. But, would they look at Spider-Man and assume he's a mutant? The Hulk, stuff like that. So I think it's funny. So Xavier shuts him down fast. He's like, nope, he's not. I know. I'd know. My mental powers would know. My cerebro equipment would know. He's not a mutant. So, but he's like, listen, you guys have been hanging out. You're bored. We haven't done anything exciting in a while, apparently. If you guys want to go check it out, go check it out. Have fun. And they're like, wait, what? And then, of course, Xavier's like, no, I'm not going. It's the Antarctic. But no, it's because he's not really supposed to be in the field, that he's supposed to lead them from afar. It's part of the whole character development. It's part of the reason that he's in a wheelchair, is that he's that behind the scenes leader of the team. So he's like, hey, if you guys want, you can. And when they cheer, they're like, oh boy, yay, we get to go on a mission. And the Beast's face is so cartoony. Like, this is straight up out of like Saturday or Sunday morning funnies in the newspaper face. Like, this is from Archie comics. Like, this is from Little Abner. Like, this is crazy. And then they're so excited, and I get it that they're supposed to be young, 18, 19 years old maybe, but every mission they've ever been on in the first 9 issues of this series have been perilous. They've had to fight people, Magneto, there's danger, there's explosions, vehicles getting destroyed, falling out of the sky, you name it. And they're like, yay, this is going to be great. And you start to go, do you guys not understand what you're doing here? I think that's funny. So they head to Antarctica anyway. And it's interesting, like, so for real, if you just decided on a whim to go to Antarctica, you can't. There are a lot of protocols. You can't just have any old citizen, whoever they want, to just head over and go, I just feel like going to Antarctica. There's a lot of red tape. But for them, no problem. I guess maybe Xavier knows people. He's got a lot of money, obviously. So that, I guess, greases the wheels. Little coloring error here. Scott's glove. So one glove is yellow, which makes sense to have it stand out. The other one got colored the same as the hood around his parka. So, whoops, that's not a big deal, but one of those things that, again, I've been saying recently, my job on this series is to kind of be nitpicky, look at stuff, both good and bad, and make sure we point out what's going on here. So, they the X-Men come to this crevasse, which is near they're in that area where Ka-Zar attacked the people on the news, and the news picked it up. So there's a big crevasse there where they're like, oh, look, there's a big hole in the ice, and we think, they came that way. And they go, what's down there? And like, nobody knows. Why don't I just shoot it? It's just Cyclops shoots his optic blast, which we know is super powerful, and he just shoots down the hole. Like, let's see what happens. And yeah, crazy. Okay. I mean, obviously it works. They find a hidden tunnel. I feel like there's other ways they could have done that. But to me, it just sort of like, I guess, I'm a little bit older. I'm a parent. I look at those things and go, children, don't shoot your optic blast down a hole that you don't know what's at the bottom of. Just crazy. So, now, interesting. They get there, they get out of the machine, they get out of the crawler they're in, and makes sense. Iceman is iced up. Perfect. Makes perfect sense. He's in Antarctica. He doesn't need all the extra protection if he's iced up, right? So 2 panels, he's in his Iceman form. Cyclops blasts down the crevasse, and this big blast of snow comes up, and they find a tunnel. And now Iceman is back in his parka clothes. So if you notice, he goes from this panel, apparently between panels, he thaws out and puts his gear back on before, and then they head down into the tunnel. What? This is one where, I mean, I get it. People make mistakes, and I'm more likely to give a pass on continuity mistakes from page to page. And one of the reasons for that, a lot of people probably don't know this, is not all artists, but some artists will draw their pages out of order. So what they do is they'll take your plot, your script, what the story is, and they'll go ahead and they will do all your layouts for all the pages. So basically just break it down. What am I going to show on this page? How many panels? Kind of what's happening here? Rough ideas. And then they'll start drawing, but they'll often draw out of order. Maybe they draw the things that they think will take on the longest amount of time. Maybe the big splash pages first, whatever. They have their own rhyme and reason, but they'll draw out of sequence. And so sometimes something will be different on one page from another, and you realize these pages weren't drawn back to back. They were drawn, one was drawn, then some others, and then this one. And so by the time you get to, what's supposed to be back to back pages, this might be the 7th page you've drawn, and the old one isn't up on your drawing board to reference anymore, so you're making sure your continuity is right, and things get messed up. That's why, for me personally, I work sequentially. I start with page 1 and draw sequentially, and I either have the previous page up where I can reference it to make sure, like, if somebody's hair is in a ponytail on this page, I want the hair in a ponytail on the next page. Unless there's a story reason it's not. Little things like that. The other thing I'll do is I'll put them in a big portfolio binder, so I can always go back and reference and make sure that I'm keeping my continuity as accurate as possible. But from panel to panel, there's no excuse. You drew Iceman iced up on panel 4. There's no reason not to draw him iced up on panel 5, panel 6. So the X-Men go through this tunnel, and they discover underground there is this world of warmth and jungle and dinosaurs. And so this is pretty cool. The bones, this boneyard of these, obviously dinosaur or let's say prehistoric, because there's some mammoth stuff in there, I think, and things like that. So obviously prehistoric bones. And an angel flying through. I like the big sort of rib bones as framing in the foreground. And again, that real thick contour line around them. Same as down here where you've got the skulls and kind of that. And then fading out into thinner lines in the background. That is very, very nice. And then as Angel is flying around reconnoitering? Reconnoitering? Doing reconnaissance. He finds pterodactyls that, of course, try to attack him, but he's too quick. And then the rest of the X-Men are there helping. So I like the really big panels. They show scale, which I understand. That's great. But I think we're missing the opportunity to really show off the figures in the X-Men. So even from this beginning one, that's fine. They can come out of a cave. That's great. But it doesn't have to be that big. We could zoom in a little bit and see the figures, see the X-Men. Same with the next one. The figures are really tiny. And I get it. It's, again, supposed to show that this world is huge. The animals are huge. The fauna is huge. Everything is, the flora is huge. So it's setting scale. But it would be nice to see some bigger figures here and there. I think that would help. And then, let's see. This cave, super Kirby-esque cave. Again, you see this sort of angular that I was talking about with the rocks, the way there's a lot of kind of, it's not exactly straight lines, it's hand-drawn lines, but they're not soft curvy. There's a lot of kind of quicker, more angled lines. Same over here, you get this sort of rock bridge, the tree in the front. Again, just feels very Kirby-esque to me, and just the line work that's done. But yeah, kind of cool, just really showing off the Savage Land. And I appreciate the big open panels. We don't see those enough, especially at this age of comics in these early 60s. I'd like to see a lot more of that. But unfortunately, it's just not how it works. But here we go. The strangers are suddenly attacked by some locals that are riding some sort of really crazy bird thing. But cool design. Reminds me, obviously, of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. If you know, you know. Hopefully you know. But great design there. Pretty cool. And the X-Men try to fight back. A couple of their members are taken out immediately with gas, including Cyclops. And then more attacks. So for this one, they've knocked out, with the gas, it looks like they've knocked out Iceman, Cyclops, and Jean, or Marvel Girl. We don't see Angel. He's flying around dodging dinosaurs, I guess. And then Beast is the only one up and active at first. But of course they take Marvel Girl, naturally. But as Beast is avoiding these spear arrow things being thrown at him, you see this very interesting device to shoot 4 at once. It's kind of neat design there. However, there is a change I would make, and I would flip this panel. So panel 1 here, and the reason I would do that is because I want the direction of things to be continuing to go in the same direction. So and I want the art to pull the reader's eye in the direction I want them to go. And of course, we read from left to right. So flipping this panel does not change the Beast's, acrobatic escape. It just makes these spears go from, instead of right to left to right, and takes our eye, boom, right to the guy who's shooting more at us. So that's a change that I would make. Obviously, now we get Ka-Zar and Zabu appear and chase off apparently the swamp men, or whatever you want to call them. So yeah, we have the figures there. So Ka-Zar and Zabu. Again, this is one of those things where I talk about big panels, small panels, etc. I would definitely like to see technically the first appearance of them inside the actual story to be a bigger panel than that. But we still have the great inking in the swamp here. Really nice work with the crazy sort of mandrel tree branches, roots, and stuff going through the swamp. So we're looking down on it. It's very good stuff. And now Ka-Zar tries to, sort of communicate. The X-Men sort of communicate with them. There's obviously your misunderstandings, and they start fighting because Ka-Zar is a hot-headed savage man who talks just like Tarzan, which does not last. Ka-Zar ends up with being featured in a lot of stories, guest stars in a lot of stories throughout the years, and I think he's had several, to be honest, into a solo series. I know there was a big one in the early 90s done by one of the Kubert brothers. I forget which one. But he was popular enough to get his own solo series at least once, if not twice. And so, and he does not continue to be just a Tarzan ripoff. Let's see. So, misunderstand battle, that kind of thing. Ka-Zar and Zabu are not going to put up with stuff. I like Cyclops just knocking the rock out of his hands. And then Beast, Ka-Zar, Cyclops struggling. It reminds me of like kids, like brothers wrestling over something out in the yard. Very funny to me. And then you've got Iceman throwing ice blocks at Zabu to keep him back. It's a good figure, good twist on the throw, and you feel like they're struggling. Cyclops is down to his knees. There's you can see the muscle definition where they're flexing and pulling, pushing, all that kind of stuff. Cyclops' back is bent forward, or bent backwards, as his, Ka-Zar's twisting his head back. So it's a good image. It's just kind of funny. And then now comes Magor, the killer, the last of the 8-man tribe, which is obviously Ka-Zar's mortal enemy. And so Ka-Zar shows them what he can do. I don't understand this other than just giving it a chance to break up the fight between the X-Men and Ka-Zar, to calm things down, and to kind of show more, again, what Ka-Zar is capable of. But, really, this is stuff that could come back later, right? We could have cut this out, used this for bigger panels, more real estate down the road. Just my 2 cents. I like the hairy design. He mentions that Ka-Zar is smooth skin, and so obviously this guy's supposed to be kind of hairy, fluffy guy. The only thing I don't like is the face, and I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to explain, and that is because it's so, how did I put I can't make out the features. It's full of so many lines, and I get what you're supposed to be happening. It's supposed to be like fur around his mouth, fur around his jaw, chin. It doesn't help that it's colored the same as skin, so that makes it a little bit difficult to make out some of these features. So you end up being like, I guess that's his eyes, his nose. I guess this is like hair hanging down. There's no, or is that his upper lip? Again, see what I'm saying? Like right now I'm trying to explain what I see, and it's really hard. Like I've zoomed in so far that, like, is this supposed to be top teeth or lip? This is bottom teeth here. I guess these are really big teeth, but again, everything's pink, so it's really hard to tell. Even his eyebrows are pink. So yeah, it's good, but sometimes keeping your design a little bit simpler, especially if the figure's not going to be particularly big, can really help in terms of clarity for the reader. So you get down here and Ka-Zar kicks him, and again, it's just this blobs of sort of black dots of like kind of, it's shadow, I get it, but other than the mouth, it's very hard to see any details of the face. Same with this. I guess these, like this black shadow is the eye, that's an eye. It's just very awkward, and it doesn't have to be. It's crazy. This one up here is probably about the clearest face we have on this guy as he's running away. And then we get this big panel of the roar. And again, I mentioned, like, this is a really good tiger face roaring. And again, how do you find a picture of a saber-tooth tiger? You can't. You probably find a regular tiger reference, and you just make those top fangs real big. But yeah, it's good. Again, Chickstone bringing the real heavy line work to pull Ka-Zar frontwards, to the forefront. Nice stuff. Very good. All in all, really nice stuff. And good scene transition. So the X-Men and Ka-Zar come to an understanding. The Swamp Men are your enemies. They've taken our teammate. So they're enemies of ours too. Let's all work together. And they start running off into the jungle to go rescue Marvel Girl. And nice wide shot at the end of the scene. Pull back, see as they're running through the jungle, so we get a little sense of what's going on. And then we cut to Angel flying around, scouting. So really good stuff there. Great scene transition from them to him. And he's ducking and diving dinosaurs, which is pretty cool. And then gets caught up by the Swamp Men and Annette. The Swamp Men have some very funky designs. And again, here's another one where you can have your design. I have no problem with this guy's design. He's got this crazy hair at the top, this weird helmet kind of thing. But what is under here? Is this supposed to be shadow? Is it a beard? It looks like he's got kind of a mustache. His eyes are going in two different directions. I get the craggy, rough face, but then it starts to, again, blend into stuff. And it becomes much harder to see the features. So, in other words, your rock, your stone, their costumes can be craggy. You've got these little stitch-up lines, wrinkles. That stuff can be fine. Maybe draw their faces. I'm not saying smooth without rough, wrinkles and folds and stuff. But you want to use a different line type. Maybe a smoother line, a rounder line to differentiate the material. This is one right here as well. This guy, same thing. And I don't know if this is supposed to be the same guy or not over here. It's hard to say. But it's kind of weird. So you get his eyes, nose, mustache, mouth, upper teeth, lower lip, no chin. He doesn't actually have a chin. Like there's nothing. Either this is supposed to be beard, but if it is, it's the tiniest chin ever, or that's a shadow underneath. Could be that too. And there's no chin, so it's very strange to me. And then when you see like his arm, right? So it's hairy, which is fine, and you've got these sort of real short, choppy rendering strokes. It's kind of similar to the way I guess stones are rendered and around on his helmet. So again, if you want to render different materials different, skin should be rendered different than cloth, than stone, than wood, than grass. Use different lines for different things. It will help settle things apart. Crazy design work here. I mean, this stuff is nuts. The dino head guy here, and he's got like one dino arm and dino feet, like crazy. And then all these, different masks and headdresses and craziness stuff. So funky, weird designs, but cool. Certainly cool. And then, of course, we get to this very King Kong kind of idea. They have Angel and Marvel Girl, and they're going to sacrifice them to the trapped dinosaur that they have, which of course is a T-Rex. And how are they going to escape? Even though Marvel Girl is telekinetic and can move things with her mind, she cannot unravel her ropes. They are sort of stuck together with some sort of pitch, so they're sort of glued together. So Angel's trying to like, hey, untie me and I can fly us away. And Jean is just or Marvel Girl is just sort of panicking. I do have a question. We'll get there, but just note this panel 3, this panel right here. The trapdoor opens, the dinosaur comes out. There are 2 fires here. There's 2 campfires, which sort of right in this sacrificial area. Just note the fires. Great, again, wide shot, nice. Changing on the page. It's not a page turn, but it is a scene change from page to page. Great way to handle a scene transition. That's awesome. And Zabu and Ka-Zar are, of course, bridging this gap, no problem. But hey, Iceman's no slacker either. He can just make an ice bridge across for us. Same problem I had earlier with the spear arrow things being shot across. You need to have this going from this going the other direction. You're moving from left to right. You should continue this from left to right. Again, the big staked off, cordoned off area. Again, very King Kong-esque. Great tiger stuff. Again, really good. Tiger face and the body feels really real. Like, I have no problem believing that this is a saber-toothed tiger. So, Jean starts using her powers to throw rocks at the Tyrannosaurus versus untying Angel. And he's like, you gotta untie me. She's like, I can't, because if I turn to look at you, the dinosaur's right there. Well, why do you have to look at him? You can move things with your mind. We haven't established she has to do it line of sight. So what's happening there? She also can topple the dinosaur. So this thing is gigantic, and she knocks the dinosaur over, but she couldn't lift Angel and herself off the cliff face and down the cliff a little bit. I mean, they walked up there. Theoretically, their hands are tied, but they could still jump down or walk down. It's not like they're on a sheer cliff per se. I mean, right? They were marched up here. And then remember the fires? Why aren't there fires? Or better yet, why isn't she throwing fire at the dinosaur to get it to potentially, leave him alone? They get I get it. It's story. They have to be in peril. It'd be too easy if she could just throw the fire and the thing runs away. They manage to get the ropes untied. Angel goes to fly off. Guys are grabbing his legs, pulling him down. Beast is heading up the cliff face to try to help him. And I like this little action sequence where he, jumps over. They're trying to cut him, stab him, attack him, and he's too agile, too quick, bouncing around, knocking people everywhere. Who makes these weapons? These are insane. You can't use these weapons without hurting yourself. This is crazy designs. So wild. And then, so Ka-Zar uses his jungle call to call in some animals to help and unhinges his jaw like a snake. That is massive. But this is comics. Take it to the extreme. So I don't have a problem with it. It's just I wanted to point out, like, man, that guy could eat a sub sandwich in one bite. You know what I'm saying? And then here we go. Mastodons show up and smash through the barrier, and in come Ka-Zar, Zabu, Cyclops, and Iceman to save the day. And again, we've got now back to bigger action, big wide panels. I think that's awesome. Really good call there. And I really like this panel a lot. This is very classic Jack Kirby. This pose of Ka-Zar sort of flipping a guy over his head as look how big his stride is. He's practically doing a split. So again, taking that motion to the extreme, which is what you want in comics. It feels like I've seen this same sort of pose by Jack Kirby, be it Captain America, flipping someone over on his shield, or, maybe Nick Fury or the Falcon, or, somebody like that. So again, very iconic Kirby moment with Ka-Zar there. I like Iceman rolling guys up in a snowball, and then Cyclops blasting him in the back. But great overall panel there. Again, classic Kirby stuff. And yeah, they find their teammates, they free them. Everybody's cool, everybody's friends. Ka-Zar's like, hey, listen, get out of here. This is my world. Your world sucks. I don't want you here anymore. Get out. Don't come back. the X-Men take off, and Zabu gets the Mastodons to block up the cave that they came through. And there you go. And here's a guy who is now got what he wants. He is the Savage Lord of the Savage Land, and there we go. So it kind of makes me wonder, in a way, if this was maybe a what they call on TV a backdoor pilot for a Ka-Zar comic. But that said, let's cut over to the desk. We'll follow along that thought process, and we'll wrap this one up. So yeah, X-Men number 10, the first appearance of Ka-Zar, the first appearance of the Savage Land, first appearance of Zabu. Very cool stuff there. And like I said, a character that does feature in the Marvel Universe moving forward, well into certainly the 90s. I don't know. I don't follow Ka-Zar as a character per se, so I don't know if there are any current Ka-Zar books. I don't think so. But yeah, I mean, a character that lasted 40 plus years, probably, for sure. I mean, he's still around somewhere. And like I said, maybe this was the idea, like, hey, let's do a character, our Marvel's version of Tarzan. This could be, now you spin out a Ka-Zar book. Or you feature Ka-Zar in one of the kind of anthology books like Tales to Astonish or Journey into Mystery or Tales of Suspense or things like that, right? So felt like this was kind of a 50-50 X-Men Ka-Zar story. And like I said, sort of maybe like a backdoor pilot to a Ka-Zar series. Pretty good. There's a lot of stuff in here where I go, artistically, there's a lot of stuff that I was kind of like, meh, it doesn't really move me one way or the other. There's nothing bad. There's nothing good. It's just sort of is what it is. So for me, in terms of our rating of this comic, I'm going to give it, I'll give it a 7 out of 10, for the introduction of Ka-Zar. There's some really powerful classic, as I said, Kirby moments in there. And so for me, I think it ranks pretty well as a 7 out of 10. Certainly, if you're the kind of collector that's looking for key issues, I would say X-Men number 10, obviously a key issue and going to be hard to find in any kind of decent shape. So would be a big collectible. I hope you enjoyed this issue. It's pretty crazy. And we don't really get a preview or a look into like who's in the next one. Well, in the next one, we're going to get another new character introduced. So we've got that to look forward to as well in X-Men number 11. I'm very excited to bring that to you right here, same time next week with even more X-Men. Thanks.